Hi guys, and welcome back to Makeup FOMO. We are so glad you're here for this totally throwback full face tutorial, get ready with me kind of video. I was so inspired to do this because I was thinking about one of the specific products in this video, and then it gave me inspiration. Like, Makeup FOMO is all about the newest up-and-coming products and alerting you of what's coming out so that you don't miss out on any new releases before they sell out. But there's also a lot to be said for some of the old products that we definitely have just sitting in our collection we haven't looked at for, can my hair relax? That we haven't looked at or played with or used forever because we constantly have new products that we're testing out and falling in love with. So I thought it'd be really cool to dive into my collection, kind of shop my stash, dig out some old favorites and not so favorites that I've had for forever, used to be super famous and popular here on YouTube, cult classics from back in the day, in the old YouTube days, that I really wanted to kind of play with again and try out, and it was so much fun. I really think I should dig through my collection and do this more often because you can kind of rediscover some old favorites, and I definitely encourage you guys to try doing the same thing because a lot of these things I haven't touched in forever, and now I'm like, why haven't I used that in so long? So this is a really good time. I hope that it inspires you to maybe kind of do the same thing and rediscover some things in your collection. And if you want to see the look, just keep on watching. Oh, and I did want to mention this is almost all drugstore. There's only 3 non-drugstore products here. So it's also super affordable stuff, some of which you can still get, some of which might be a little bit harder to find, but overall, really good oldies but goodies that I'm so excited to share with you guys. So let's get started. Okay, let's do this. So we are gonna start off with primer. I need to know who remembers when this took YouTube by storm. It's the Monistat Chafing Relief Powder Gel. It's obviously not actually meant to be a primer, but someone started using this, I don't know who, and it took over YouTube because it's meant for chafing between your thighs and stuff like that, but it's a purely silicone based product, and it feels just like a lot of primers, very silicone-y, very smoothing. It feels awesome, and it works really well as a base for your foundation, but this must have been popular 2 or 3 years ago. This was a really big deal. I knew this had to be in this video. Next up is foundation, and we are going to be using, not only is it Revlon Color Stay, which used to be all the rage, but it's a Revlon Color Stay whipped, the kind in the jar. And this is it must weigh a couple pounds. This is very heavy duty packaging. I honestly don't even think that they sell this anymore, to be honest. No, I haven't heard anyone talk about this in years and years and years. This is a throwback. How is this color gonna be? Yeah, it should work. This, if you know anything about Revlon Color Stay, you know this is full coverage, heavy duty, super thick, and so you pretty much have to use a sponge with this because it is so thick and heavy. I was gonna originally use the Sigma F80 because this is the throwback of all throwbacks for, applying foundation. I feel there was a time when this was the only foundation brush on the market in terms of a really dense flat top brush. But for this, we are going to use a beauty sponge. This is the L'Oreal one, which I really like, so I'm going to use this to apply it. So this does not look awesome on my skin right now. My forehead, I don't know if you can tell, it's very dry right here, and it is just literally clinging to every little dry patch. It's not laying very well. Kind of patchy. I'm not a fan, but it's a throwback, so we'll just keep the ball rolling. I'm going to use a super old under eye concealer. This is the CoverGirl and Olay Simply Ageless Eye Concealer, and this also they don't sell anymore. This was really popular when it first came out, and it's since been discontinued, but it doesn't have it anymore. But it used to have a swirl of concealer and then a swirl of moisturizer in it. That has obviously been blended together since I first got it, but this is a very hydrating, really creamy emollient under eye concealer, and I loved it. It feels so nice under the eyes, and it has really good coverage. This is in the color 205. I don't know if you can even get this anymore. I'm sure you could probably find it on Amazon or something like that, but and sorry I'm using my middle finger. I always use my middle finger for my under eye concealer, so it's nothing against you. I promise. So now that we have super bright under eyes, which we will blend in a little bit later, this I'm going to use for my face concealer, the NYX Above and Beyond Full Coverage Concealer, the one in the little pot. I feel like this was one of the first concealers that NYX ever came out with. Since this came out, I like the HD one a lot better, but these ones have really, really good coverage. And I just used to love pot concealers so much because they were always a lot better coverage because they're so thick, and this one is very full coverage. This is one of the funnest throwbacks in this video. Do you guys remember the Dream Bouncy blushes from Maybelline? This one's in the shade Hot Tamale, number 70. These were so exciting when they first came out because they were like revolutionary with this bouncy, like cream almost to powder formula. Mine still has quite a bit of bounce. It's still a lot of fun to use and apply. So I'm just putting it on before I do my powder. But this is the perfect like red shade. It blends in so well because it's kind of that creamy formula, and it looks super natural. It also has a lot of pigmentation. Like, you don't have to, you just literally tap your finger in and you get a lot of color payoff. Do they still sell these? I feel like I've seen them like semi-recently, or maybe I haven't. Tell me if you know, because I like them. Okay, so now onto powder. I have the e.l.f. High Definition Under Eye Setting Powder. This isn't like super a throwback, but this came out a really long time ago. I think I still hear people talk about it here and there, but it was like one of the first like drugstore high definition like loose under eye powders, and I have always loved it. So I'm just going to put that under my eyes. Next for face powder, TBT To the Revlon Nearly Naked. This was in a foundation form also. They have a foundation and a powder. I think they still sell both, but honestly, I don't know. I haven't really seen it. This was and still is one of my favorite powders. This is actually my second one of this. This is in the shade 010 Fair. I'm on my second one because I literally used up an entire one of these, and I never use up entire products, like all the way down to the pan, like trying to get it out of the edges. I never do that. So that is a testament to how much I love this powder. It is so smoothing. It adds a little bit of coverage, but it looks so nice on the skin. So I'm just using a really big Wet n Wild powder brush. I want to put that everywhere. Guys, this is such a nice powder. If they still sell it at the drugstore, you should try it out if you haven't before. You probably overlook it because it's so old, but like that foundation didn't look so hot, like I was saying, but that just, it like adds a filter. It just completely blurs anything that was looking kind of funny before. And I mean, my forehead still looks dry, but this is a winner. I couldn't really think of a throwback eyebrow product that really like stood out to me that I had. So I'm gonna use my Wet n Wild eyebrow, I don't even know what this used to be called. It's just the eyebrow kit. I've actually gotten quite a bit of use out of this. I've hit pan on both actually, and I quite like this. I don't know if this is as much of a throwback as some of the other products in this video, but it's definitely been out for forever. So I'm just gonna use this and quickly fill in my brows. So now I'm going to add a little bit of color to my face, and I think everyone's going to be able to guess what bronzer I'm going to use, but I'll give you a chance to guess. What do you think it is? NYC Sunny I know that's what you thought, because this was like the cult classic. Every single person owned this at one point. I don't think there's anyone that hasn't owned this bronzer at one point. It is a classic. This is actually my second one of this as well. I've gone through a full one, and then I've hit pan on this one as well. But it just like works for everyone. It's a little bit warm, but it's pigmented. It blends so easily, and it works for everybody. And I really like that. So I'm just gonna warm up my face with this. So this is one of only 2 non-drugstore products in this whole video, but we have to use the Benefit What's Up highlighter. They definitely still make this, they definitely still sell it, but like nobody talks about it anymore, I don't think. But this was just a little travel size that I got forever ago, and I've used a good amount of it. This is a classic. You get actually a ton of product in this sample, but this is such a classic highlighter. This was definitely one of the first highlighters on the market, I think. This one came out before the whole highlighter craze, and it's awesome. It's like, do you see? It definitely packs a punch, and it's super convenient in the stick form. So I still love this. I mean, there's 1,001 other highlighters I love, but this is still pretty solid. Time for eyes now, so I zoomed you in a little bit. This is the only other non-drugstore product, but you know we had to talk about the Urban Decay Primer Potion. Was this like the first ever eyeshadow primer? I feel like it was, because there was a time when I don't think anyone used anything other than this, and I think everyone still has one somewhere. It's just as good as it always was. I like it. Okay, serious throwback here. NYX Jumbo Eye Pencils. Obviously the Jumbo Eye Pencil in Milk was like the cult classic that everybody had, but these are in a couple other colors. I probably have like at least 10 of these. I went crazy and bought like all of them. So the shades I want to use today are Cashmere and French Fries. I love that name. And these are really good eyeshadow bases. So I think I'm going to use this as more like my inner corner brow bone base, and then I want to use the French Fry shade as my lid color. So that just lays down a nice pigmented base to start building color on top of. And I think you can also probably guess what eyeshadow palette I'm using, because it wouldn't be a throwback full face without the Naked palette. Tell me this wasn't the very first eyeshadow palette like ever. I was literally thinking about this the other day. I don't think there was another eyeshadow palette before this, and then this came out and it was like everything. Nobody hasn't tried this, I don't think. I don't know if everyone still has theirs, but everyone's tried this at some point. So we're just gonna do something pretty simple today. There's only 2 matte shades in this palette, so like obviously this was before people knew that mattes were so important, but I'm gonna use both the matte shades, which is Naked and then Buck, and I'm just gonna build those into my crease just to kind of get the look started. I feel like if anyone came out with a eyeshadow palette with only 2 mattes in it nowadays, people would be like, what? Why? But since this was the first one, I guess we can't really hold it against them. They didn't know. So that was Naked, and now I'm gonna go in and just build up the depth a little bit with Buck. So now I want to pack a little bit of Half Baked all over the lid, because that is the classic, I feel like most loved shade in this palette, and I'm just gonna use my finger. And oh yeah. Urban Decay knew what they were doing. They might have been the first, but they were one of the best. That is like foiled looking. This is such a good shade. I think this is in a couple of their other palettes too, I want to say, because it's that good. And then to add a little bit more dimension, I want to use a little bit of Sidecar more in like the middle of the lid, and then I want to build up the deepness on the outer corner with Hustle. That looks cool. And And then I'm going to use the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in Cashmere and just put that under my brow and in my inner corner. And then I'm going to top it with, I think, Virgin, just kind of the lightest shade in here. So this is the eyeshadow look. I think it's exactly what the Naked palette calls for. Something, you know, kind of simple, but still kind of smoky, natural tones. I like it. So let's move on to our liner and mascara. Oh wait, and sorry, this is obviously not Drugstore, but there were like no Drugstore eyeshadow palettes besides like the Wet n Wild like quads. So this was a necessity, even though it's not Drugstore. So for liner, we have to use the NYC liquid liner. This also came out, I feel like, forever ago, but people still use it, I think. I mean, for some people, it's like a big holy grail forever eyeliner. It has a really nice brush tip applicator, and I've gone through multiples of these as well because it's just so affordable, so black, so good. And I'm not gonna do a wing or anything, but I'm just gonna kind of line pretty close to the upper lash line with a just pretty thin line. This is just so easy to use. The brush tip on this is fantastic. I highly recommend this, especially if you're maybe new to eyeliner. I haven't used this in a while, but this is really good. So another oldie but a goodie, which is actually most of the products here, that people still love is, of course, the L'Oreal Voluminous Carbon Black Mascara. This was like, I feel like one of the first mascaras that like people were unanimously in love with. Now, of course, you know, they have the newest L'Oreal mascara, of course, like Too Faced Better Than Sex, but this was like the first mascara that I feel like everybody agreed upon was dope. So I'm gonna use that and I'm gonna apply to my upper and lower lashes. And last but not least is lips. NYX Round Lipsticks. That's literally what they were called because they're in a round tube, I guess. And as you can see, I went hard on these. I got so many colors. I definitely have more in my collection and probably had a lot more even when they first came out and were really popular. So I have quite a few shades. I have a handful of nudes, some pinks. But now that it's September and I know it's not fall yet, but I was thinking we could do something a little darker and vampier because that'd be really fun to get us in the vibes for fall. So I think this is what I want to go with. I am so into this lip shade right now. This is the first like darker vampire shade I've worn in forever because all summer I was doing pinks and nudes, and I'm so ready for these kind of lip colors to be back. It's awesome, and I miss it. I love looks like this. So this is the completed look using all Throwback products. So it kind of just goes to show that even with older products and like even though more and more stuff is constantly coming out, we can still do awesome things with some older products that we have in our collection, and you don't need to always have the newest, hottest things to be able to make an awesome look. Of course, if you do like getting new makeup, which we know you do because so do we, and as you know, Makeup FOMO, that's what we're all about, head over to our blog. We have all the newest makeup product releases all there, all the old stuff that's kind of come out before that you might still be interested in, or the new stuff that's up and coming that you have your eye on. It's all there, all the information you need, so that'll be linked down below. As always, we would love if you checked it out, and if you'd like to subscribe, we would also really love it. We have a lot of fun here and would love for you to join, and until our next video, we'll see you guys then. Bye.